Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Frank Mallozzi.
Good afternoon and welcome to our Customer Innovation Panel. It gives me great pleasure to speak to three great companies and kind of share a little bit with you what they're doing and what they've done to transform their businesses. So I'd like to invite them up on stage, and we're going to start with Pentzer Printing. Pentzer Printing is a 112-year-old company in Columbus, Indiana, run by President John Settle. The company is a full-service sheet-fed, offset, and digital printer with a complete bindery, as well as mailing and fulfillment services. Welcome, John. Pleasure. Please have a seat. The second is Hardwire, and Hardwire was founded in 2000 by George Tunis and is located in Pocomoke City, Maryland. Tunis began his business developing and building retrofits and infrastructure reinforcement applications, but following September 11th attacks, the business began developing armor protection for ground vehicles, aircrafts, boats, and personnel. Today, Hardwire is known for solving some of the country's most challenging military and defense problems, providing life-saving protection for our military, for our servicemen and women. Please, let's welcome George Tunis on stage. Welcome.
Good to be here.
Great to have you. And lastly, Multicolor Corporation. And Multicolor Corporation is a 90-year-old Cincinnati area-based business that supports the world's most prominent brands in consumer products with comprehensive label technologies. Multicolor's color type labels business is the world's largest and most awarded pressure-sensitive wine and spirit label printer. Let's welcome Greg to the stage. Pleasure. Great. All righty. Well, thanks, gentlemen. We appreciate spending some time with us to learn a little bit about your business. So let's just a little bit more about your company. So let's start with you, John, to share with us, what you guys do.
Okay, we're a sheet-fed and digital printer, a medium-sized company. We've got 14 employees, serve a variety of different industries. One of the things that we're working on doing is reining back in some of the stuff that the printing industry's let go of, like, say, marketing and advertising. Instead of waiting for customers to develop ideas or marketing firms and then bring them to us and us bid on and then the low person gets the job, we're trying to be proactive about that. We're starting a new marketing company, and with that we are going out selling the campaign, selling the ideas, everywhere from mobile marketing to the printed piece to mailing, because as we know, everybody needs 4 to 5 touches before they make a decision if they're going to buy something or use a service. So we are going to be providing the whole gambit, and we've just got started with that, and it's already paying dividends.
Fantastic. Wonderful. George.
I can tell you I'm completely new to this business. I've had a printer for about a month. Half of the vocabulary I don't get. I'm in the armor business, and we weren't in that business 10 years ago. We were really in the composite structures business. The war started, September 11th hit, and that was a wake-up call for me to say that as an engineer, I can make a difference, materials can make a difference, technology can make a difference. And in the height of the war, we won a lot of DARPA contracts. We were able to develop some very innovative armor, and we were able to scale that. So it was really about scaling that armor technology in the height of the first surge in Iraq and the second surge into Afghanistan. And now, as those wars have wound down, we saved a lot of lives, we changed a lot of things. We're here today because we're changing our business and consumerizing some of those technologies that were developed during the war. So we're here to learn, to adapt, to mix industries, and hopefully to change one life, just one life.
That's exciting. I mean, I can't wait to hear more about your business and how you're sort of tying that into print, but very interesting. And Greg.
Yeah, Multicolor is one of the largest label companies in the world. We have 30 production facilities spanning North America, South America, Asia, Europe, and Africa. As Frank mentioned, we've been in business for a very long time, so we do know this business. I can't wait to hear your story, more so. And one of the interesting things about multicolor is we have been through a tremendous amount of change ourselves in recent years. And just an example of that is we have more than doubled that footprint just in the past 3 years. We are a long-time customer of EFI, using Radius as our standard ERP product for nearly 10 years now, and running it now in 15 of the 30 facilities that we have around the world, and continuing to roll that out. 9 of those implementations have occurred just in the last 2 years, so we have been very busy and making a lot of change in the business.
Terrific. So John, a little bit about, what are your opportunities? What are you pursuing in 2014?
Well, most of our customers and most people out there, you get a person who has an idea, they start a business, it grows a little bit, they want it to grow more. They didn't get into that line of work to be a marketer or to be a printer. Our goal is to get out in front of them and help them tell their story, and help them tell their story in all the ways that is needed for them to be successful. Because of course, as you help your customers grow, you grow too, and then it opens the doors in other places. And one of the things with this is, being a smaller shop, we're trying to get more capacity out of what we have, and some of the technologies that we've been using through the PACE system. We have PACE, and then we have the EFI Fireys, is helping us do that. It's been a great partnership throughout, because there's no way we could grow without the support and the extra technological advances that EFI has brought to the table.
Can you give us an example in how that sort of helped?
Well, one of the big things is with the Fiery and how well it does with the variable data. The abilities there, and the way that my pre-press guys can just get it set up, it's almost a no-brainer for them after they've done it a little bit. The color that comes off for the digital equipment, which is is what the variable data is for. We don't worry about the image. We don't worry about those kind of things, and it processes it so much faster than the competition does. We're able to turn the amount of jobs to be able to feel comfortable, because one of the worst things you can have is you quote a job, and there's that feeling you get sometimes when the customer says yes, and then you go, well, then how am I going to get this produced? Yeah. You got to be ready for that yes, and we're trying, before we do everything, to be ready for that yes. And the shortcuts and the reliability of the systems is helping tremendously with that.
Terrific. So George, this is interesting. So you're a month into the print business.
Yeah, some of our guys are getting trained today. I can tell you we didn't wait for the training.
Okay.
It's kind of like being a dad on Christmas Day. You don't read the directions. So as soon as it showed up, we set it up. We're like, I wonder how far we're supposed to go with this. And then we got our first.
So we've got a month of knowledge up on stage here to tell, I guess, you guys, hundreds and hundreds of years in print. But tell us a little bit more about your unusual product line and how UV inkjet has allowed you to be more sort of efficiently and profitably.
It hasn't allowed us to be profitable yet, because most of my engineers are glued to this crazy machine at this point. But our whole factory is automated. So we have automated lasers. We talk about printing presses. We have presses that produce 25 million pounds of pressure when we make our ballistic laminates. So they're just immense machines, immense pressure. And we found that the UV cured ink on the right films could survive that pressure. So it took us from multiple steps to a single step. And all the armor that we used to build was for the military, so it was just desert tan. There was nothing exciting about it. As we morphed that into police, they need to have very specific graphics on the front. So we're like, hey, let's make a bunch of clipboards. You have one of them for our local cops. We were getting a lot of tickets because we drive too fast because we're always in a hurry. And this was our get out of jail free card. So we gave them away to the local police. We put their emblem on them. And every time we get stopped, now we're like, hey, this is a random clipboard check. It's not a speeding check for me. This is me checking whether or not you have your clipboard. But we started to print, and as soon as that machine got there, and as soon as really we met your staff, because it was about the people, and it was about the innovation, and it was about, I told them I was going to void the warranty probably on the first day, and they were okay with that, I think. I don't know, we haven't needed any spare parts. But we've used it to print stuff that went to the governor of Delaware just the other day, and it looked beautiful. It was custom. The guy was like, it didn't appear to be a piece of armor, so he was very comfortable with it. But we've also used it as a tie coat, so we don't see the printer, maybe as everybody else does, as a piece of something that just does visual graphics. We see it as a robotic spray head that can spray all types of chemistries.
Wow.
And the tie coats for us are important. We use a lot of dissimilar materials, so we're able to spray chemistry from that machine. And that's really what we saw in your company and in your equipment.
Jetting onto protective armor. So let me see if I have this right, because I talked to our product managers, and when they saw the product, I understand that they're bulletproof and so on, and they went home and they tested the product.
Everybody does that.
I mean, they actually shot at it, is from what I heard.
That's what it's there for.
So you're saying that with this clipboard, I can pretty much stop
you can
a
stop,
bullet.
Yeah, you can stop. If Dirty Harry walked into the room right now, Clint Eastwood, with a .44 Magnum, you could take 5, 6, 7 shots on that clipboard. And what's amazing is that technology is actually old. And the newer technology that's flying today in helicopters is half that thickness. So it's becoming almost superhuman-like. There's actually 400 layers in that particular clipboard, and what's unique is now the layers of graphics, because it's really all just about layers, and it's all about wavelengths. Stopping a bullet is a wave phenomenon. The visual eye is a wave phenomenon, and what we see coming, and we were talking about this earlier, which I think is really exciting, are wavelengths besides the visual. So letting your smartphone see a graphic in a different way so that that graphic is talking to your phone in a way that if you're having a wine, your business, that wine or your smartphone becomes your sommelier. It's telling you what to pair the wine with and where it was made and how it was made. We see the same thing for defense or for consumers. It's an exciting growth area.
So for my ink team, does it scratch the ink when the bullet hits?
Oh, it's going to scratch the ink a bit.
So Greg, Multicolor Corp is a multinational company with many facilities, many parts around the world. It's listed on NASDAQ. So I imagine choosing a new product requires a lot of in-depth due diligence. And so how do you go about in choosing a vendor, and really what's involved?
Yeah, it is very important to us because a bad decision can have pretty wide-scale implications to the business, the way we're structured. So, like many other companies, the approach that we take is quite disciplined, starting with, I'm the CIO of the company, so from an IT perspective, always starting with teaming with the business side of the business, identifying the business requirements across multiple facets, and identifying really what we're trying to accomplish with the new technology. And we always start with the customer. Always taking a look at what are we trying to achieve with the product, the new product. What are the customer requirements with regards to that? Are we trying to improve our time to delivery? Are we trying to improve our quality? Are we trying to improve our color match? We always take a look at our customer intimacy in looking at products as well, because it's very important to us to ensure that everything that we do, we can extend the automation and extend the efficiency even beyond our own four walls and beyond the control of our own processes, and take them into the customer processes and interconnect systems that way, as well as downstream in the entire supply chain into the suppliers as well. So that's critical to us in taking a look at what are we trying to accomplish for our customers. Next thing we do is take a look at our own internal processes, which are largely driven, again, by the customer expectations. But when we look at the internal processes, we try to look at it in two different ways. We want a product that has the depth of the solution for our business as well as the breadth. And what I mean by that is it's really, really important to us that we establish the depth within the solution that is very industry specific to us, because we can get the most value out of a product and achieve what we're trying to accomplish if that product has the depth. For example, in all of our businesses, it's absolutely required that every product that we support all of the different print technologies across the board. Because we're not just a flexo shop, we're not just an offset shop. We run pretty much everything from rotogravure to digital to offset to rotary offset, et cetera, as well as the complexities associated with the different label technologies. And it is quite different when you're setting up a layout for a shrink sleeve label versus an in-mold label versus a pressure-sensitive label, as well as the costing of that and so forth. So every product that we select has to support everything across the board so that we can drive that across all of our facilities as well. Now, when I talk about the breadth of the product solution, what we do look at is how does that fit into our overall business processes from beginning to end. So we heard a lot from EFI this week about automating processes across the board, from customer acquisition all the way through production, all the way through the accounting processes. And that message really has always resonated very well with Multicolor because we understand the importance of that, and that's how we really achieve a lot of value in the investments that we make in these technologies. So it used to be in the IT world that the message was that you have a choice, pick best of breed or more of a generic package that integrates across the different business processes. Well, anymore, I don't think we need to choose. I think we need to look at our business partners and say we want it all. We expect both. We expect the depth. We expect the breadth. And the expectations are in those partnerships, and I would challenge EFI, as you guys are buying more and more best-in-breed products, integrate them faster so that we can take advantage of that and get more value out of that partnership.
Wonderful.
And then the final thing is, and this one will be quick, sorry,
No,
is we take a look at the product with regards to its ability to give us the information we need, but not just data, but actionable information, and again, that spans those business processes so that we can see the correlations from decisions that we make at the beginning of a process all the way through and how that may impact profitability or otherwise downstream. So the big data concept, getting information across all of the business processes is extraordinarily important to us as well in making those decisions.
Great perspective. Thanks for sharing that with us. So I'm curious, and this goes out to you, John. So Pentzer is 112 years old.
Yes.
And of course, the company's gone through some number of changes throughout the 112 years. So just curious, companies have survived difficult years, and rather than saying cut back or look at something different, just like to understand what does your company have, what did you guys do over the 112 years? And just curious to hear about the transition.
Well, like most companies, we try to stay focused on the customer's need, first and foremost. And we try to exceed it. We couldn't do it without investing in technology. We don't always buy the newest thing as soon as it comes out, but like we bought a Xerox 800 for our digital work a year after it came out. Don't really care to be the beta on everything, but as soon as it gets established and try to get on the leading edge, towards the leading edge, and try to anticipate the growth curve so we have the tools in place so we can actually do it. And of course, in all of it's a moot point without quality people. Without the group that we have at Pentzer Printing that a lot of times care more about the final piece than the customer does. You'll get a lot of that where we'll get you'll say, well, this is what they're expecting, this is what they want, and somebody will stop the job and go, hey, well, yeah, that's great and all, but we can do it a little better. And doing that, and that's what Pentzer Printing's done since its inception. And it started off as just black and white, of course. Actually, it started with the gentleman, the man that started it was a professor at a small college in Columbus. he was printing poetry books at the school, kind of on the side, but using their equipment. He got in trouble for doing that. They slapped his hand, so he quit his job as a professor and opened up a print shop. And then from there on, it grew from that, and then the sizes of the presses grew, and then added color about 30 years ago, and then added digital about 10 years ago, and then it kept evolving from there. And then last November, we got a phone call, and then within a week, we were in the fulfillment business. Okay. One of our main customers called and said, we need a solution. We got fulfillment we need to get done. You do our printing, can you do our fulfillment? By doing some research and getting back to him pretty quickly, we'll make it work. That customer went from $180,000 a year in sales to $340,000 in a year. And in that time span, they grew from 60 offices to 180 offices. Mm-hmm. So that should more than double again. And it's just because we had the systems in place to do it at a small scale, and had the people and the technology to grow that and make it work.
Wonderful. Columbus is close to Bloomington?
Yes. If you're going to IU for any reason, that's where the exit you get off on to go over to Bloomington.
So I'm interested. I have a freshman at IU currently, okay. And of course she wants nothing to do with paper. It's all about her phone, but great. Yeah. I'd love to stop by and show her the changes in print.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Wonderful. Thanks. So back to you, George. One of the jobs of many marketing professionals is to look at product extensions and ways to reach new types of customers. And it's in an entirely new segment. So just curious, because of the business that you're in, what is Hardwire doing along these lines?
And for us, I guess it all starts with a calling. As I said earlier, the war started, we knew we could help. The war wound down, so there was some business pressure there to make a change as well. But the technology, the war dividends, there's always a peace dividend to technology developed during a war. And if you look at Vietnam, it was Kevlar. And that's found its way into every police officer's vest. The technology that you're holding is about 2.5 times lighter. So that will float. So we make armor that floats. And we started to see that really that use in body armor, the use in shields, now all of a sudden you can hold a substantial piece of this stuff. It's light enough to fend off gunfire, even automatic weapon gunfire for the police. So the police was our first extension. But then after Sandy Hook, that was the second wake-up call. That was another calling for us. And as a father, and I know I heard you ask, did your son or daughter have a good day at school today? Schools are the fabric of our society. I've talked to a number of generals in the Pentagon, and I said, how do you win a war? And they said, you go in, you take over the country, but then the key is turning the country back on. And one way, you have to turn the power back on, you have to establish security, and you have to send the children back to school. So the best way to take a country apart is to take apart the school system. And it was just sad as a father. I had a close friend from high school that lost his daughter in the Gabby Gifford shooting. So just one life matters. And what we're doing now is taking that military technology, demilitarizing it, so putting it in a school environment so it's a whiteboard, wow. And it's something that's functional. And there was a little stat that came up that I happened to read the other day, that in the last year, since Sandy Hook, so it's been a little over a year, there's been 81, 82 deaths in Afghanistan, soldiers. There's been over 12,000 deaths in the United States. In convenience stores, supermarkets. There was a shooting yesterday at Purdue University where one of our engineers graduated. This is becoming a bit of an epidemic. And it's not something that we're going to turn off the gun industry or change the Constitution. I just don't believe that. That may occur, but it's going to occur over a great deal of time and be very divisive. What we did in Iraq and Afghanistan is we added armor to the equation. It's not that the guys are being shot at less. They're actually being shot at more. But armor can become a really equalizing force. And the ability to print on it and create these side benefits, whether it's advertising in a mall. The Kenyan Mall incident, I don't want to scare everybody to death tonight, but Africa is a proving ground for the bad guys. They've done almost everything first in Africa, and that was a combined attack by professionals, not just somebody that was mad. So we see the use of advertising as a way to put something there that's like a fire extinguisher, I mean, there's fire extinguishers all over this hotel, and we're very used to them. They're there by code. But there is nothing to extinguish gunfire. And a lot of these incidents can be very easily alleviated with just a simple shield. Just that first contact, the ability to close the last 15 feet, but most of its life it can just be advertising. And more importantly is the mental health aspect. That's the piece we've kind of tripped over, in that when you start to put armor in these settings, it's not scary, especially if it's printed on and it's forming this other function, but it becomes a mental health tablet. So people say that when a brand puts something in a shopping mall, for example, it says, I'm Nike, I'm not Nike, but I'm Nike, I care about my employees, I care about my shoppers, I'm going to sponsor this advertising board, and now with your machine, we can change the advertising out as quick as possible. So it's really kind of an incredible, the first step is accepting reality. The reality is we have a problem. You got to just say, we got a problem. Same thing that happened in Iraq and Afghanistan. We had a problem, and we woke up to it too late. There's a lot of guys that were in Walter Reed or didn't make it that far because we didn't wake up soon enough. We have a problem in the United States, and it doesn't mean we have to divide the country over it. It just means we have to innovate. And if we innovate, your equipment happens to be a big part of that, we can combine industries, bring new technologies to bear, meet new people, and then start to make the armor smarter, which will have a war dividend later. So it keeps that whole thing rolling.
It's incredible. Just the applications, and especially in an area of safety, and what you're doing is just another example of what our industry contributes to. Incredible. I understand also you talked about backpacks. You actually manufacture backpacks?
Well, we do backpack inserts.
Inserts.
One of our big things was you never want to fall in love with your technology. You want to fall in love with your customer. And kids love every different kind of backpack you can think of. So you're not going to tell a kid that he's not going to have a Dakine logo or a Nike logo or an Under Armour logo on his backpack. But if you just start to make inserts that go in there, it's very similar to what they do with police body armor.
Okay.
And we can upgrade that, and it serves a function because it's a writing tablet, and you can take it out, something to write on if you're on an airplane. We carry them around as business travelers. I can tell you, I'm not really afraid. Somebody pulls a gun on me, I know they're going to shoot at the center of mass. I've got armor. I'm going to get to them, and I'm just not worried about it. My kids go to school. They're not worried about it.
Raise of heads, how many of you feel the same way?
And some of it's just confidence. Bad guys don't attack people that are confident. And you can either have this victim mentality in America, or we can say, we're not victims. This is my America. And we can innovate, and we can take back control of our society. This is my society. This is the society for my kids. So I think it really just comes down to there is a need, and you guys have a great technology, and we already see the defense applications that play off of this, which are everything in this room is all visual wavelengths. I mean, we're all talking about visual wavelengths that we see, and we're not talking about the wavelengths that are important to the military. The ability to print conductive materials, to print circuits, it's all there, all that technology exists, and that's what's coming, and that's when it really gets exciting.
Wonderful. So Greg, what hopes do you see in terms of new technology? What gains would you like to get from it? And then just to follow on, what the brand owners, you touched many of them, what are they looking for? What is the next big thing?
As far as what we're looking, and I touched on some of this earlier, is the obvious answer to that is we're looking for a return on investment. When we're investing in technology, whether it be new equipment, and that's what everybody focuses on, is the new equipment. Everybody wants a new shiny thing on their shop floor. But oftentimes what they do is they overlook the information technology as an investment as well that can reap just as much of a return, if not more, than a lot of the equipment. So as we're bringing in new technology, there's a specific purpose for that technology. We expect a specific return on investment. Again, I touched on some of those things with regards to whether or not it allows us to work more closely in collaboration with our customers to get product to market faster, or to innovate on the labels that we're producing so that they stand out more on the shelf with their products. Whether it be, and a lot of the focus, as I'm sure everybody in this room is aware of, is there's a lot of cost pressure in our business as well, and our customers are continuously pushing us to get better, to deliver better product, but deliver it at a lower cost. So we've got to continually make investments in technology that allows us to get the information across all of the business processes, again, so that we can see where there is waste and where there's non-value added activities occurring, and we can take that out of the system to automate the processes across the board. And that's not just within our own four walls, as I mentioned before, but that includes extending into the customers and back into the suppliers so that we can reduce the number of touch points, because that's where mistakes are made. That's when costs, additional costs are introduced and so forth. So, you know, depending on what we're trying to accomplish, it's all about that return on investment. And we do look at the technology as an investment just as we would a new printing press. Second part of your question regarding the support of the global brands. Some of the things that we're doing in delivering technology is absolutely critical in supporting what our customers, which are the large multinational customers supporting these large global brands, and what their expectations of us are. You know, how do we ensure that we're delivering consistent quality, delivering consistent color across the family of brands, delivering consistent processes, delivering the same level of customer intimacy with regards to our ability to use technology to reach into those processes and to integrate with our customers and so forth. So that's what these global brand owners are expecting of us, and they're expecting us to deliver the same thing regardless of where I'm printing it, regardless of what technology I'm printing it on, what substrate I'm printing it on. The colors have to match, the quality has to be the same. So putting technology in to support all these processes really helps us to achieve that around the world.
Interesting. Just another follow-on question. So personalization, we haven't really seen it hit in terms of in packaging. As just curious to see what's your outlook in terms of that segment sort of adopting, and are you hearing that from your customers?
You know, we're hearing a little bit about it, and I think that there's been a recent example of that all over the news with what Coke did in the use of the digital model to deliver individualized, I don't know if it was cans or bottles. I don't recall what that was. So yeah, I think there's some interest in that. I think there's a lot of challenges still that need to be overcome. Especially in some markets where you know the volume of labels that we're printing wouldn't allow that. But as the technology improves and we have more ability to introduce variable data in a high-speed printing environment, certainly I think you're going to see a lot of that being expected.
Interesting. So John, a question regarding you know. You talked about pace and efficiencies and so on. Certainly, we've got a lot of new products here. Talk to us about some of the things that you're seeing from the products and technologies, and is there a wish list?
Well, I think one of the things was said earlier about integrating it quicker. I mean, there's great products here, and I mean, I know the way in this program, the whole Connect idea where we all get together and talk about ways to innovate, and you guys take those ideas and run with them is wonderful, and we've seen a lot of great things come from that. Like for us, for example, instead of hiring 2 more people, you know, it's not, you know, in the budget to hire a couple people to do estimating, or to have some, you know, there's a lot of pressures on the cost side. So instead of adding people, we add technology. And the scheduling module, that's helped just make the whole place more efficient. And makes it easier for us to be confident in telling our customer where their job is without having to go through the shop and pull reports and do all those kind of things. The shipping module, the freight link that we have works very well, and your new one looks like it's going to be a very exciting one to look into. You know, the Fiery, the way it handles information, it's just that whole flow of information is so much smoother, and you can do so much, you can get a lot accomplished with fewer people and still do it quicker. Earlier today, it was we were in the opening breakout session. You get an email, logged right onto the pay system, on my iPad, had the quote back to the customer. 3 minutes later, they send me another email saying, go ahead and go with the job. Send it to my guy back at the shop, and it's running. So, I mean, and that doesn't happen if you've got to call in, leave a message for the estimator, or get a hold of the estimator at the shop, and they've got to do everything by hand, and they've got to pull out, they got to find their paper books to find out how much the paper costs. I mean, there's just it's kind of like the difference when you went from using a pager to using a cell phone, where you would get pages, you had to find a gas station to stop, and all that. Then you got your cell phone, and you can do all your work there. I mean, that's what the EFI technologies that have came out just in the last few years, especially when Scheduler went live for PACE. It's made a world of difference.
That's great. That's great to see the efficiencies. So George, you look at different product. We talked about product extensions, and we just had a few minutes, and you shared a number of different applications, and I was really intrigued because you were rattling off a number of different areas, and you had one you talked about that you have in your. I would love to have you share that a little bit. If
I thought about bringing it, but I didn't. I was like, too many props are boring. But afterwards, if anybody wants to see it, we can see it. But we see a revolution happening, and I got to tell you, I was in the nano world. That's the one place we've diversified technology-wise. I was the anti-nano guy. I thought it was all baloneyum and none of it really worked. But we are connected to DARPA, and DARPA believed in it. They funded a particular outfit that licensed some Princeton technology. And so the idea that these nanoparticles, in this case graphene, if you haven't read about graphene, I would definitely read about it. It's 1/3 of a billionth of a meter thick. And just to give you some idea of how thick that is, I had trouble wrapping my head around that. If you stack $1 billion, which I'm sure this place has done more than once, it would be 31 miles high, perfectly flat. If you stack 1 billion of these particles, which obviously can be well dispersed in inks and so forth, it would be 1 foot high. So it's incredibly thin, incredibly conductive material that can be produced in mass now, and we see the product extension of it. It started with smart armor. How do you know that you've been shot? What's the life of your armor? How many times is it? So we build circuits into the armor to know where it's been shot, what life expectancy is left in it. So smart armor was one of the very first things that we saw. But what we're seeing now is antennas, like the ability to build antennas in. And once a printer can print conductors, resistors, and insulators, you're already printing insulators, we just believe there is going to be a world of customization, but maybe not customization as you think of it, like this Coke is made for George Tunis. But it'll say this Coke, and then it accesses your Facebook page through an antenna that's built into the label, so now all of a sudden it knows everything about me. Where I've been lately, why I might be thirsty, that I just got out of the water in Puerto Rico surfing or whatever, because it knows where I am too. And that's that integration of hardware and software that we were talking a little bit about yesterday with Guy and Gil, that you're going to see these mergers of technology between printing and electronics, and it's already happening. And that's the piece that I'm really excited about. Graphics is one thing on armor to demilitarize it. When you start making it smart and you make it do other functions and you make the labels speak to you in a way that's very interactive so that it can access your mobile device, that gets pretty wild.
Incredible. That is incredible. We have a customer local in the Bay Area who focuses on the real estate vertical and was talking very similar, not so much QR codes, but an advanced QR code where as you drive by a listed property, that information is activated by your phone and transferred. It's just it's amazing to see how it's evolving and where it's going.
It's got to be effortless. I mean, I think one of the big keys to this is I don't want to sit there and get my phone out and then try to scan something and try to get the camera app to come up and come in focus. I want that technology to be pushed at me the same way that maybe one of the waiters here is pushing information at you seamlessly. So it's all about that push. For us in the school world, we've immediately found a niche where we just want to know where the shooter is in the school and how do we get that information outside to the police. because every 8 seconds can be a life. At Virginia Tech, it was every 30 seconds. Sandy Hook was much worse. But things happen at NFL speeds. I mean, that's the only way to describe what we heard from the first responders at Sandy Hook, was how fast this stuff goes down. And you immediately need to know where the guy is, who's been hit, who's safe, who's not safe, where are all those shields deployed. I mean, communications, armor is just part of it. And if you look at the military, they spend a lot of money on communications, tracking their troops, where the guys are, so that the generals can make decisions to deploy other assets. The same is going to be true if a mall shooting happens again and it's a coordinated attack. I want to know whether the guy has hit the Gap and then hit Nordstrom's, and I can see him working, so I know where to head him off if I'm a SWAT guy. So it's about that real-time information, and that's, from the security world, that's where we see the two mergers. And from the marketing world, I think it becomes a lot more friendly and a lot more fun, and that's hopefully where we get to spend more of our time working on that, not on some of the realities of today's society.
Great. So I have a question same question for all of you. And of course, EFI would like to believe this is so, but technology isn't the only answer. But what else do you do to maintain your edge in terms of whether it's training, personnel, marketing, and just curious because you're in different businesses to see that. Greg?
Yeah, I can start with that. We spend a tremendous amount of time on training programs, on leadership development, on programs to ensure that we have engaged employees within the company. Even within the technology world, I talked about the fact that we did 9 new rollouts in production facilities of all of the systems just in the last 2 years. We've gotten to the point where most of our time on those rollouts, it's not about the technology. The technology works, and we know we can put it in, and we know we can make it work, and we've standardized a lot. It's really about organizational readiness. It's really about training. It's really about ensuring that the employees, the people that are going to be using this technology, not only have the information that they need to make good decisions, but they know how they are expected to take action from that information. So we spend a tremendous amount of time, and probably more time on that than we do on the technology aspects as we're rolling this stuff out.
That's great. John?
Yeah, and the way I look at it and the way we look at it is, like I said before, all those are great tools, but if you don't have the right people and they're not able to use it, or if they don't think they can use it. So I see my role in a lot of successful companies that I've seen and have been involved with, I provide the tools that all the employees need to be successful. If I do a good job at providing them the tools, technology, training, and just an environment where if they see something, they can say, hey, let's try it this way. And in listening and taking that time to let them take ownership and to really not just be an employee, to be part of solving a problem or coming up with a better solution, they run with it. And I know when I've had bosses early in my career that did that, I ran with it. And there was nothing I wouldn't do for that boss because I knew he trusted me to go out and do a good job, so it pushed me even to do a better job. And I'd say most of us probably have a shop full of employees that are like that. And giving them the freedom and the tools to make it happen, it's this wonderful thing to watch.
That's great. And George?
Just to kind of play off that, we do the same thing. I mean, it's all about, we subscribe to the Pixar mentality, which is make mistakes quickly, make them small, and get over them quickly. Because you're going to make at least 9 mistakes to have 1 gem. And we definitely push our people to go out there and try stuff. Because there's an awful lot of people that have great ideas that never get off the couch. They never get to step 1. And one of the reasons we got one of these printers was it's the ability to have that gratification so that we can very quickly go from a digital world, because we live in a digital world, whether it's the print world or the CAD world or the electronics world, where it's modeled on the computer and then we can print it, try it, modify it, see how ideas change and morph. So it's really doing that and doing it in combination with your customer. Like the one thing you said, some of your guys shot our armor, We go out on the ranges with police officers. We have to blow up a truck next week up near Reno. It's a truck we build. I hate doing it.
Site?
Huh?
That's fun.
No, it's not. Everybody says, oh, you have the best job in the world, but it's a one-shot gig, and you get one chance to get it all right. There's 500 sensors, and one bad data channel, says that the guy didn't do well. It could be one mistake in wiring, so it's a little nerve-wracking. Gives you a bit of a nervous tick after a while. But we encourage our folks to go fast, to try stuff quickly, and to interact with the customer so that we walk in their shoes. Because walking in their shoes, you quickly realize, wow, it's not just about what I thought it was about something completely different. Wow. And, being able to interface with your customers and go on the range with them and shoot at stuff, I guarantee you whoever shot our piece of armor shot it with the wrong weapon. Okay, so bad guys don't read the directions. So we have to create armor that can go way beyond the specs. And we have to have stuff that blends in as well.
Great. So last question, different profiles, different sized companies, but if you can answer this in short answer, so why do your customers choose you? Greg?
Yeah, I can start with that with one word, and that's customer intimacy. We know our customers. We know what they want. We are embedded with them in everything that they do. And we have the support processes, the people, the technology built all around that to ensure that we are customer intimate. We're delivering what they need at every stage of their requirements.
George?
For us, our business is binary. It's a 1 or a 0, so it either stops what somebody's shooting at you or not, and people come to us because we've either saved somebody's life that they know, or they've seen the test results, and we're the best in the world at that one niche.
That's great. And John?
For us, I would say teamwork. That every project is a collaborative effort, and we do all we can to make sure that happens. It would be a terrible thing to me if I got a call from a customer saying it just didn't seem like anybody was real concerned. They let that job get through your shop, and nobody seemed to care that something was misspelled. And it's always a great thing when you get that phone call saying, yeah, your guys caught something that we would have never caught, and now we don't have to reprint the job. Wow. It's that teamwork and that collaborative effort.
Wonderful. Well, on behalf of the audience and EFI, we really appreciate the fact that you guys shared a little bit about your company, your applications, and your growth plan. So, again, thank you for your time. Thank you. Thank you. Great. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. A lot of fun. Thank you. Great job. Nice job. Great job.